Welcome back, everybody, to the Juggling Life, Finding Balance podcast. This is another special edition of Sister Talk with Viv and Becca. And as y'all can tell, we have some new guests with us today, but we also have some really cool news to share with y'all. So first thing that I want to say is welcome to BRYAN and Mellissa. We are so excited that y'all are here. And Becca, I would love for you to tell us a little something about your special news.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, by the way. Hi. We haven't done a recording in a while, so it's nice to be back in the studio with Viv. But the reason that Viv and I even really started our podcast, I feel like, or I got to be a part of her podcast, was because I had been telling her that I wanted to have a podcast. And a lot of it was just like me, Mellissa, and BRYAN had been talking about doing this for so long. And then just in conversations, you and I would say that. And then you called me and just asked me to do it with you. And I was so honored and so happy. And I gained so much experience from that. And then we finally kicked off our podcast. So I have a new podcast with Mellissa and BRYAN. And it's called The Eggshell Effect, Fully Cooked and Cracking Up. And we're going to talk about that today with Viv.
Love it. I love it. So yes, so if you all are new to the Juggling Life, Finding Balance podcast, when I first started this, oh my goodness, it's been about 2.5 years ago. You know, I always say I believe that there's 3 pillars to living a balanced life. And the first one is God first, second one is taking care of yourself, and the third is having fun. And so I wanted to introduce my subscribers and followers to the fun aspect of it, because we have to be intentional about having fun. And like Becca said, I knew she was wanting to get some experience in doing podcasting. And every time Becca and I get together, we laugh and are stupid and have a great time. And same thing with Mellissa and I. And so again, for those that don't know, Becca and Mellissa are my sisters-in-law from my first marriage. And we have remained the best of friends all of these years. And so anyway, so that's how Sister Talk got started. And I wanted to have these ladies come on and share their podcast because it is absolutely hilarious. And although we may not be moving forward with the Sister Talk show, you definitely have to go check out their show. You will have fun and get some laughs from these ladies. So, all right, let's take a minute, because I know my audience may not know everybody here. So I'm going to start with BRYAN. Tell us something about yourself.
Hi, well, I'm BRYAN. I'm born and raised in California, but I'm definitely a Texas at heart now. I have been here for 25 years. I am an empty nester. I have 2 beautiful grown adult daughters, but I am single. Just turned 50 last year, and I am a private practice therapist. I love thrifting, anything 80s nostalgia. I love it. 80s movies, you name it. And I have got a wonderful, beloved dog named Lily, and she's pretty much my constant companion.
I love everything that you just said. This is my first time ever meeting you. I've known of you and saw your podcast, and I knew you were really good friends with Becca. So I'm so glad to have you here. And I think earlier today you said you lived in around Grapevine or something like that. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to go there last year and love that town. What a fun little town.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, Mellissa, folks may remember you. You've been on a couple of podcasts with me, but remind folks who you are.
Well, I'm Mellissa. I am Becca's sister, Vivian's sister-in-law. I also am 50 and an empty nester. Both of them, I have a son and a daughter. My son's been married almost 2 years now. And my daughter just got done building a barnuminium with her boyfriend. So it's just my husband and I just here by ourselves, having fun, getting to do whatever we want to do. Go on trips with our friends. We do a lot of friend trips. And we just got back from Vegas. We went there for 5 days. We are now in the process of planning a Mexico trip. So besides hanging out with my friends, I hang out with my sister. We love to go thrifting, hang out with my cousin, just living life and having fun.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're an empty nester too. We've been empty nesters for quite some time. And I got to tell y'all, love the kiddos, but love it that they're gone because we can do whatever we want when we want. We can eat what we want. You know what I mean? We can do what we want.
Yes.
Right.
It's freedom.
Exactly.
It's freedom.
Yeah.
We love y'all,
Exactly.
but all right. I'm looking at my questions here because I got some questions I want to ask because I want you guys to tell us about this new podcast. I know you have one episode out there right now, and my husband and I listened to it in the car. We were traveling back from Napa Valley, and I said, "Oh, Becca and Mellissa and Brian got their new podcast out," and he's like, "Well, put it in." And so we listened to it, and we laughed. And my husband Eddie, he goes, "They're onto something," and I was like, "They sure are." And so I'm so excited for y'all. So I'll just let y'all pick who wants to be the one to tell us a little bit about what is the Eggshell Effect Fully Cooked and Cracking Up podcast.
Well, first off, I know everyone on this podcast knows me, so I didn't do an introduction, but I do want to introduce something. I am the best mom ever from my son on Mother's Day.
I love it.
So, this podcast is about parenting, but a funny take on parenting. But the way it got started is Brian and I, we met 17 years ago. Is that what we just 17, 18 years ago? And so we basically have raised our kids and together. I mean, they've grown up side by side, living in different places sometimes. But Brian and I would talk when we first met, and she would tell these funny stories about Marcia, her mother. And I would laugh, and she would laugh, and I would say, "Oh my gosh, that sounds just like my mom." And it was just this constant thing. And I never thought that there was another Betty in the world. Never. And suddenly I'm hearing these stories.
How could there be?
And we're laughing. I'm like, they would have either hated each other or been best friends. Like, I don't know what Betty and Marcia would have been. But when I met Marcia, I already felt like I knew her because she was so much like my mother through the stories of Brian, but sure enough, she was just like her. So we just teased a lot, and we loved this movie when we were growing up, the Mommy Dearest movie. We are not comparing our mothers to Mommy Dearest. Okay. We're not doing that. We're not jerky or anything. We want this to be funny. But there were so many little things in that movie that we would tease about and joke and say, like the no wire hangers. No wire hangers. We used to tease, because Brian's mom didn't like. Brian still has velvet hangers in her closet. She has like 300 of them. I think it's because she's scared of wire hangers. And so we just kept talking about it, and we thought how fun it would be to do a podcast together and just to talk about it, and not to trauma dump, not to be anything like that, but just because there are so many people. I didn't know there was another Betty out there. And when I found out there was, I thought, there might be other people out there who also experience the things that me and Brian did. But those experiences made us funny. Sometimes people it doesn't make them funny. Sometimes when you have a hardcore mom, it doesn't make you funny. But for us, it did, all three of us. And so we were like, why not do that? And maybe we could share our story, and it might help lighten the load for someone who might be listening, and they might want to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in the world. So that's my take on the Eggshell Effect.
I love it.
We talked about like walking on eggshells like throughout our childhood, and that we would not do that to our children, but as we became mothers, we realized that our mothers, when we were in that different season of life, we realized our mothers were just human. And they didn't know what they were doing. They were living and learning, and just as we were in that moment. And we said our kids were never going to walk on eggshells, and I guarantee they do. I guarantee they did. And we walked on eggshells with them, though, where our moms never did, I don't think. But we came up with the Fully Cooked and Cracking Up because we're all grown now, and now we can laugh about it. So we all kind of came up with that together, and we love the name. We think it's a cool name.
I love it. I know Betty. I grew up around y'all's mom. And so I have a lot of my own stories from Betty, but I don't know Marcia. So Brian, I would love for you to just kind of tell us what the Eggshell Effect means to you, why you wanted to do this podcast, and shine a little light on who Marsha was as your mom.
Well, Marsha was a fun, vibrant, very childlike adult. My mom was so much fun. It's hard to explain how she just entertained everybody. She had a great sense of humor. She was always laughing. But she did have a side that, like most of us growing up in that generation, was a little bit tough. And I think if you knew Betty, you'd probably recognize Marsha. And that's where, for me, the eggshell effect came from too, is that kind of walking on eggshells, is that typical reading the room and sometimes having to be mom's emotional regulator. And I think that, like Becca was saying, for a lot of people, their childhoods aren't very funny or they can't laugh at it. As a therapist, I recognize that. I talk to people every day where that's the situation. And I don't just laugh at situations like that, even in my personal life. But I do realize that sometimes in situations where you come out and there's perhaps resilience and strength and compassion learned, you can also giggle and find some things funny and move on.
I love it. Mellissa, I know you had a very special bond with your mom. And so I would love to hear, what does the eggshell effect mean to you? And why did you want to do this podcast?
Well, I do love to talk about Betty. And we had our moments, but we also had a lot of good moments. The last part of her life was, I got to spend a lot of time with her and just talk about, because she lost some of her memory towards the end. So we told a lot of stories back to her. And so just going back through all that and then getting to share this with Becca and Bryan, because obviously Becca went through the same childhood I went through. Maybe. We have different views sometimes on things, but because, I'm the typical middle child, she's the typical baby child. And so the eggshell to me is, I feel like it didn't traumatize us like it does a lot of people. Like there were many times where Betty would be in a moment of rage, and then the phone would ring. We talk about this all the time, and she'd be like, "Oh, hello," and we're like, "What the heck?" We were over here tiptoeing through the house to avoid her, and yet here she is. Oh, she's so sweet, And again, we love our moms. We loved our moms. They're, no longer with us, but just, we love to share those stories about my mom and about Marsha. And we just want people to come on here and listen to us and laugh and be like, oh my God, that happened to me. Oh, but they turned it around as it's funny, not I'm going to hold this in. So maybe it'll help some people get over it per se, or, walk through it in a different way.
Yeah. There's so much healing in laughter.
Yes.
I don't have that same experience with my parents, but my stepdaughter, my bonus daughter, and bonus son, they have now, since they're adults, they have said to me something along the lines of, your passive aggressiveness growing up. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, those notes, like you would leave these hateful, you need to get this room cleaned up and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, I did do that. Instead of just saying, hey guys, pick up your stuff, get this stuff cleaned up before I get home from work, I'd leave these notes. And so they tease me now, but we're able to laugh about it, but which is so healthy and it's fine. But so I think there's some healing in that, because I know, as a step parent, not having my own children, I know that I probably failed in many, many, many ways. And so hopefully they can laugh about it. I'm going to make sure they listen to y'all's podcast and be like, look, it wasn't just me. And they're both parents now too. So I'm sure they're screwing up just as much as I did. So yeah, anyways.
Yeah, they
love it.
We all do it. Yeah, we all do.
I love it.
I was going to say, when you said I grew up in a different childhood, it just clicked with me that you've been with us for so long. I was in the 6th grade, I think, when you came into our life. So you definitely walked on some eggshells over at our house.
I did.
So
and so the eggshells that I walked on at my home was my dad was such a hard worker. My parents are still alive. My dad is such a hard worker, and he drove truck for a living, and so he was on the road most of the time. And when he was home, he was resting. Now, as an adult, like y'all just said, I totally get that. Right. He's been on the road. He's exhausted. He's on the couch in his own home. He wants to watch what he wants to watch on his own television. And I'm all like tiptoeing around, because dad's sleeping. Don't want to make him mad or whatever. And I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, you little snot. I mean, and that's one of the things that I remember about Betty, Becca and Melissa's mom, is I'd come over after school and Betty'd be on the couch. And my first thought was, psh, what's she doing on the couch, Well, she'd worked all day. She was trying to get 15 minutes, of rest before she had to make supper and all this stuff. And we're all hanging out in the living room being loud, watching, what was that? Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. and
over and
she's
over
just
and
trying
over
to get a minute
again.
over and over. So we do see things, once we become adults and we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, they probably were cranky, but they had a reason to be,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And my mom was cooking for a house full of people, like, my dad's brothers, their families, all of us.
Yes.
And we all had a friend over.
Busy. Yeah.
I was out shopping yesterday and saw mom out with her two children. She had one in a stroller and one was 7. And I can, from the story, I can tell you why I knew. But the 7-year-old was not wanting to stay with mom. And so pretty loudly in the store for everyone to hear, mom said, okay, fine. You can go wherever you want. Let somebody kidnap you. I don't care. And you'll never come home. You'll never see mommy again. And
sounds like somebody's stuff.
Yeah, well,
it's good
I have
parenting.
to admit, I was a little judgmental. I really was kind of looking at the mom like, my therapist hat was on, like, this is gonna scar her,
Yes.
That's really kind of, mean to say, like, I don't care, let somebody kidnap you. And, and I thought, well, as, as I heard her later saying other things to her daughter, well, you're 7 years old. You can go live on your own. Things like that.
I think the kids nowadays, I think we all kind of grew up. Becca, I know you're a little bit younger than us. You're not in your 50s club yet. But, we grew up in a different time where, some of us were latchkey kids and, and we did things on our own. And with Mellissa being the middle child, I'm sure she felt like she was responsible for Becca often. And so it's just a different time. And so, but I wonder, listening to y'all's stories at some point, like when y'all are telling your stories to each other, like when did you realize maybe this wasn't normal for everybody?
Well, here's the conclusion I came to as I pondered in my mind whether I should approach her and say something. Was one, I'm Gen X. Nobody cared where we were. At least she's saying something. She, right?
At least she cares.
At least she cares.
What?
We would just wander the neighborhood until, in my mind, I think until Adam Walsh. And then there was a little bit more fear about letting your kids just go wherever. And then I thought, oh, surely I never did that to my kids. And I thought, well, no, you just whispered it in their ear.
You just pulled their ear.
Pulled them over. Don't you dare.
And there used to be a reminder.
I did. But I used it as like reverse psychology, like that's what I thought in my mind as a mom who didn't know what she was doing. I just thought I'll just use reverse psychology on this 7-year-old, and then they'll know I love them because I said that. I don't know, we're living and learning. We don't know what we're doing.
Right. None of us do it right. None of us are perfect.
Melissa, you mentioned something that I hadn't thought of in 1,000 years.
What'd you say?
You said,
what'd you say? It's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
Yes.
They used to say that on the news. And just last week, I heard it on the TV again.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
It's
was getting
back.
ready for bed.
It's
I went to
back.
turn the TV off and it said, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And I had like a flashback of my childhood. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I love it. These kids need to get back to the house. They don't need to be out running around. What do they always say? You know, there's nothing good happens after, I think it's after midnight, but we'll push it back to 10. Nothing good happens after 10.
Wasn't there another PSA about?
I just said that to my sister yesterday.
Reading to your kids and like, like giving them a hug.
Well, I love where y'all are going with this podcast. I think, oh my gosh, I think so many people are going to be able to relate to it. And you know, like I said, laughing is great medicine. And for those that maybe, you know, like you said, maybe they did have a childhood that was a little rough. But I'm hopeful that by listening to your stories that they'll come to realize that maybe there's some humor in some of that. Maybe there's some forgiveness that can be shared in some of that, because I know too, Becca, you mentioned that I was, I think I was 16 when I came into y'all's family, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Absolutely nothing I'd ever seen before. My parents are very quiet and reserved. And matter of fact, I mean, we didn't really even talk that much in my household. So it was a completely different experience. And, you know, I remember meeting your grandma Peggy as well. And she hated my guts, y'all. She hated me in the very beginning because she said, she didn't, but she thought I was stealing your brother away and gonna, you know, whatever. And then she ended up loving me more than, you know, life itself. I was introduced to that, and I saw a completely different side of how things can be. And there was a time where I did not like your mom for the longest time of some of the things that I witnessed. And I will tell you, just as a fun, oh my gosh, well, I digress, but this is funny. This is my funny little Betty story, but this is how we bonded. Okay. After I married your brother, I don't know, we weren't very old, maybe 21. We couldn't find your dad or my husband. We were there visiting. We were there on leave from the Air Force. We were visiting, and your mom is like, get in the car. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And she's like, we're going to go get him. And I laughed. Yeah. It was, felt like I was in training, because it's like, this is what you do when your man's out at the bar and he don't come home. She's like, get in the car. So we get in the car and we're driving down the highway, and we went to the, oh my gosh, the Wheel Inn. It wasn't the Wheel Inn. I can't remember the name of the bar on Highway 81. Y'all, she tears up that parking lot. We're throwing gravel.
Was it the General Lee?
The General Lee. And we're tearing up that parking lot, and we walk in, and I'm kind of like behind your mom, right? Because I'm just like in training, and she barrels through that door, and the guy at the front at the desk that like takes the money and stuff, he's we don't want no trouble, Betty. And she's like, shut the F up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's cussing, she's mad. I mean, and so she just barrels through, and they just let her in. And then I just go black. I don't remember what happened after that. I've lost all of my memory. It must have been bad. But that is when I bonded with y'all's mom, because we both had husbands that enjoyed alcohol and liked to go out. And so we bonded, and we've been just best friends ever since. And yeah. That's my Betty story.
Me and Mellissa have also bonded with our mother in the General Lee for the same reason. I think we all have General Lee stories, because and when you said they said we don't want any trouble, I knew what you were going to say before you said it, and I've never even heard that story. Well, I'm sure I have, but I didn't really remember it. But they knew her, like. In my mind, when you said that, I thought, oh, he knew. He was like, oh, darn it. Yeah. Betty's back. Yeah. You know, when my dad probably walked in there. When he walked in, the guy was probably like, oh, Lord, we're going to have some trouble tonight. You know?
Listen, I pulled my own Betty at the Wheel Inn.
You pulled your own Betty?
I did.
Yeah, she did. With our dad.
It was cold out with our dad. It was cold outside. I had dropped him off there because obviously he wasn't able to drive himself. I took him there.
Divorced.
Yeah, my parents were divorced. And I called down there because my hot water tank it's freezing in my house. Like I have no hot water. My pilot light on my heater's out. And I don't know how to do these things. So I call the wheel in, on a house phone. And I asked for James. And the lady's like, no, James here, and hangs up on me. So I call back and I'm like, I know he's there. This is not his ex-wife. Put him on the phone. I just dropped him off. And she's like, no, James here, and hangs up on me again. So now I'm mad. So I drive down there and I walk in and my dad's sitting at the bar right where I left him. And I said, who just answered the phone? And the lady goes, I did. And without even thinking, Mellissa. I just grab her by her hair and pull her over the bar. And I'm like, if I call and I ask for James, you put him on the phone. And my dad was, Mellissa, get outside. So I had my own Betty training.
Betty training. Betty training.
You know what that reminded me of? I told Mellissa recently, remember when the bracelets were out that what would Jesus do? WWJD. I was so upset about something, and me and my sister are not near as aggressive, except for that story, a few stories here and there when she comes out. I said, I need a bracelet today because I need my inner Betty to come out. Like I need some strength. And so I said, what we should do is just get bracelets made that say WWBD. What would Betty do? We're going to look down and we're just going to go be Betty. And then like 3 to 5 days later, my sister said, did you get a package from me? And I was like, I got a package, but it was around Mother's Day. I didn't want to open my Mother's Day presents for my kids. And so she's like, it's from me. And it was a bracelet, WWBD. And it has come in handy already one time. I called her on the way to work. I'm like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I have my WWBD bracelet on because I'm going to need it today. I need Betty today.
Hilarious.
And she was so disappointed because we were not like her, like we weren't as aggressive as her, and she would get so mad at us for being too calm. So
for those who are listening and watching, we are not condoning violence. So let's just get that out here. We're not condoning violence.
No,
I'm no longer
I needed
violent.
verbal.
No longer violent.
No, I needed to be able to use my words this day. I'm not going to put my hands on anyone. I just needed to be able to not be timid, not be run over. I needed to be fierce. But I rubbed that bracelet and I thought about it a whole bunch of times. I didn't do it. Inside I did.
Viv, you have a birthday coming up. Probably sure to get you one in the mail.
I would you please? I will wear it proudly. I got to be Christian. I got to figure out
maybe
how to
you need
balance.
both WWJD and WWBD together. Okay?
Yes.
On the opposite side, you can flip it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Lord help us.
You've
help
got
us.
a Jesus and a Betty on one on each shoulder.
Wow. That'll be something. I know y'all's podcast is fun. It's uplifting. You laugh, but I know you guys are also planning on tackling some, there's going to be some heavy topics. They're also very funny. They're relatable. But Bryan, this question's for you because you're in the mental health field. So how do you guys plan on like balancing the laughter part of it in your conversations with the, those emotional wounds and some of the things that we just talked? How are y'all going to balance some of those heavier topics?
It's important for people to know that we that they're not alone. That and that we're not minimizing anybody's wounds or stories or experiences in any way, and that everybody is allowed to feel how they feel. First of all, and we're not taking anything away from that. And certainly, I know I speak for myself, and I'm sure Becca and Mellissa feel the same way. Just because we laugh about something or can find humor in it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt anymore.
Right.
And so I think expressing that and letting our viewers and listeners know that that's not what we're trying to do. It's erase or deny or minimize the pain or the hurt or the struggle that anybody's challenges, trauma, hardships also bring with it. This is just another way of coping and getting through life.
That's really good. Mellissa, I'm wondering what Betty's in heaven looking down. What do you think she's thinking about this podcast?
Well, she's probably thinking, you girls, when you get here, we're going to have a talk. But she's probably also proud of us for being able to share and to let other people, because she was a sharer. You know, she shared everything. So I think she would be proud of us for branching out and being bold. And because this is a hard thing to be out on a public platform and sharing things about our lives that most people probably don't know about us. So I think she'd be very proud of us.
Yeah. I think she would be too. I do. I think she would be very proud. What is that? What is Becca raising her hand for?
Can I want to touch on that. I do not think that at all. I do not think that at all.
Really?
I think, no, I do not. I think she would be so mad because I went to that weekend therapy session and I came home.
Oh.
And I was talking to her about all the things I learned. She said so many times after that, you just think you know everything because you went to therapy. And she was so mad at me. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to say, maybe I'm an adult, but maybe we could talk about this problem a different way without yelling and screaming. Let's write it down or let's, whatever tools I learned. And she was basically told me to shove it so many times. And I think that, even in adult life, we butted heads a lot. We love big. I say we're very passionate. We loved each other very passionately and we would do anything for each other. But at the same time, I've never yelled and screamed at anybody like she and I did in adulthood. I mean, even the last weekend before 2 weeks before she died, or something. We had to have one big last screaming match. But I think Betty and Marcia would be like, oh, how dare you? We were pretty good. How dare you come on here and tell the house secrets? Yeah. Like, these are the house secrets.
House secrets.
And we taught you better than this. But Mellissa has a middle child. She's got a different opinion.
I was going to say, me and my mom had a different relationship then. Yeah.
I was going to say that too. Even your brother has a completely different relationship than the both of you. I have a different relationship and Bryan has a different relationship with her mom too. But I think it's a combination. Bryan, I didn't know your mama, but I think it's a combination of what both Becca and Mellissa just said, though. I think there's some pride there in that you ladies are doing what you're doing, branching out, and you're willing to do it to help other people. And that's kind of what that's about. People might be able to tune in and laugh or relate or see how you guys are dealing with your childhood and how you're able to be healthy and laugh about it now. And that might be something that can help them heal. And so I think she would be very proud of that. I also think that as stories are shared on your show, I would also suspect she's probably like, that didn't happen like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah. Different perspective. Different perspective. But I will say one thing, and then Becca, don't hate me. But I will say one thing. Typically, when there's usually a parent that we are most like, and that one's the one that drives us most crazy. And so there's probably a lot of Betty Vogel and Becca Robinson. Okay, let's just say.
And everyone's like, and she looks just like her.
That's what everybody says.
And she looks like her.
People say it all the time. They're like, you act just like your mother, and I'm like, yes, the fun parts of her, yes. Yes, the fun parts.
Denial.
I love the fun parts. But what you just said, when you said she would be like, it didn't happen like that, that is a constant conversation that we have in our house. Like, we've talked about this on our podcast, but we did have this story in there about like how my 3 kids, like when you set them down together and you ask them their perspectives of their childhood, and the one who thinks that everything I did was perfect, I'm like, yeah, that's how it happened. And that's Avery. And then the others, I'm like, how dare you? That did not happen that way. And they're like, how dare you? That is how it happened. And I got my little sidekick over here going, that is not, Mom is right. That is how it happened. And you two don't know what you're talking about. And so, and people say Avery's a lot like me. So I'm kind of seeing things through a different lens right now. It's just saying that.
Y'all have to have your kids on this show without the parent. Like Becca, you're gonna have to have Amy, Avery, and Devin on, and you're gonna have to sit that one out, and the truth can come out.
Avery can come.
Oh my gosh.
Avery can come because he'll just talk about the best mom ever. But those other two tell too many truths. They have different, they see me through a different lens. They love me. I love them. But, they just have a little bit of a different perspective.
Whoever might be listening to this, they're like, oh my gosh, I walked on eggshells growing up too. What would you want that person to know if they're listening to this and they're like, I totally relate, but maybe I don't have the healthy, perspective of it that the three of y'all do. Bryan, I'd love to hear your perspective on that. What would you tell that person today?
Therapist. Find a good therapist. No, and listen to our podcast. Listen to the Eggshell Effect. No, but really, if they walked on eggshells and they are still struggling, finding that they have a hard time with emotional regulation, or find themselves walking into a room and the first thing they do is try to read the room if they have anxiety or things like that. I would say, things can get better. It doesn't have to stay that way. And one of the best ways to find healing is to know that you're not alone. The therapeutic relationships, even it doesn't matter what approach a therapist uses. The most important component is rapport, that relationship. So, when you're listening to somebody, talking with somebody that you feel like understands you, that is extremely therapeutic and beneficial. So I think one, a therapist, but also listening to podcasts like ours, or just reaching out to anybody that has a similar story to yours or is empathetic.
Yeah, that's really good. What do your kids think about you being on this podcast?
They love it. My youngest daughter in particular, who happens to be the one that is very much like me. My oldest is a lot like her dad. But she's very excited. She wants to come on and be a guest and tell all of her dirty stories, but also but also hopefully have some great things to say. But thankfully, both my kids have always expressed how proud they are of me and just as I am of them.
But how about your kids, Mellissa?
Well, Katie would probably love to be on here. Zachary would be like, oh, Lord. But I think they are very proud that we're doing this. And they both listen to him, and they think we're actually kind of funny. And I think that they're actually even okay for us to share stories about them. As they're adults now, they're telling me things that I didn't know that they did. And so my perfectness of them is sliding downhill a little bit. But that's okay. They're just human. They're good adults now. So, but I know I would love for them to be on here as well. And I hope that we're just making them all proud. And I want them to know that it's okay to laugh, and it's okay to set boundaries, and that it's okay to live the life that you want to live. Like, just be happy and kind humans. So,
how about your kids, Becca? Are they proud of you for starting this podcast?
Well,
what are their thoughts?
Devin and Amy have definitely said, like, they're super excited about this. And they love this for me because they know since I was probably 5 years old, no, probably like 8, I would record myself with a recorder, and my name was Mizzou. I had my own talk show radio. And, because we would drive to school in the morning and we'd hear the people talking on the radio. But I was like, I think I'm humorous enough for radio. And I would hit the 2 buttons and I would record myself. And this is Mizzou, today's episode, and I would just talk to myself and record it. And so they know that story. And they've always said, Mom, you need to be on SNL. Like, you're so funny. So they're loving this for me. Devin is super pumped, and Amy, they're super pumped. Yeah. Avery hasn't really said much about it.
Well, I think we're in a totally different generation. I mean, think about it. What would it be like if y'all's mom and my mom were on a podcast, I mean, I don't know how I would feel about that, honestly. You know, but we're just in a different generation, and I don't know. It just feels like, even though we're all either in our 50s or close to our 50s, it just feels like we're younger than our moms were at this age.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels
I
different,
agree.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun for me to get to see you girls, and I'm super excited for all three of you for this podcast. I really think you're onto something. It is so funny. You guys have great camaraderie. And so I want to, just before we come to a close, I have just kind of a little bonus question. It's the fill in the blank, and I'd love to get each of your perspectives. So if you were to fill in the blank to this quote, I spent years walking on eggshells, but today how are you feeling
I would
today?
say I am happy, and I get to be me, and I get to be authentic, and I get to share stories and laughs and hope for people. So that's what I would say. That's how I would fill it in.
Love it. What about you, Brian?
Spent years walking on eggshells, but today I'm free.
Oh, that's good.
That's a mic drop. What about you, Becca?
Well, I would just say I'm fully cooked and cracking up, because
Oh, yeah.
that's what we are. We're fully cooked and cracking up.
I love it.
right.
That is a great way. Great way to end today. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on
you.
and giving me some laughs today. And I know everybody's going to just totally love your new podcast. The podcast is called The Eggshell Effect, Fully Cooked and Cracking Up. I believe you have one episode out there. You're working on another. So folks, make sure that you go out there, like and subscribe to their channel. Give them a thumbs up, share it with everybody that you know. That's how we get more and more views there. So thank you again, ladies, for coming today. Thank you, Becca, for spending Sister Talk with me over these last 2.5 years. It has been an absolute honor to watch you grow in the media space, and I wish y'all the best of luck in your upcoming podcast.